everyone, Alden here with Vendors Tech. Wanting to talk about the MEI TRC series coin mechs today. And unfortunately, the party on these is pretty much over. The MC series coin mechs have been junk for a long time. There's just no way to repair those. Those were discontinued, I mean, way back probably in the late 80s, early 90s or something. I mean, that's the earliest dates you start seeing on these TRCs. I'm not quite sure how long they made the MC series, but the TRCs are what replaced them, and they made the TRC series coin mechs all the way up until, I don't know, I think 2009 or something like that. The problem is parts are no longer available and haven't been for a long time. New. Now, we can scrap them and use used parts and stuff like that, and we've been able to do that for a while. The problem is with these coin mechs, because of kind of a weak point in their design, there's one particular part on these coin mechs that is pretty much needs replaced every time, no matter what, on every coin mech, and it's not a minor part. And the problem is, a lot of coin mechs out there, if we go and buy a whole bunch of used ones real cheap and use them for parts, this part is oftentimes bad on these coin mechs as well. And so it's very, very difficult to even get good used parts off of any coin mech. And the time that it's taking to tear down coin mechs and take these parts off of them and scrap everything out or try and save. I mean, sometimes I can save this particular part if it's cracked and all that. To an extent I can save it if it's not too bad, and just the time involved and the rapidly decreasing supply of available used spare parts is going to make these coin mechs very difficult to service at all in a very short amount of time. I'm going to show you what the issue that we're having here is with them, in case you ever run into it, even with a coin mech you get from us. I mean, I'm doing the very best job that I can here to keep these working and running and to repair them correctly, but I'm very limited in the resources that I have right now because of the fact that new parts have not been available for years. And this is plastic we're talking about, and plastic wears out and cracks and breaks regularly, especially when these things are in vending machines where they get used. There's moving parts, there's heat, they're outdoors sometimes. And so the reason I'm doing this video is because I want to show this issue and explain that because of it, very quickly, people who are using TRC series coin mechs need to get away from them. That doesn't mean you have to go to MDB, okay? You don't have to, because, you know, we've got single price coin mechs, we've got 12 pin 110 volt micro mechs, we've got 24 volt 15 pin and 12 pin TRCs. We have MDB TRCs as well, which if you have an MDB TRC like a 6512 or 6510, the next time that thing dies or has to come out of the machine for any reason, phase it out. Put it in a pile and sell it to us for parts, or throw it on eBay, get rid of it, or just toss it, because it's not worth your money anymore to try and invest in the TRC series coin mechs. Move to the CF7512, the MEI CF7512. Move to a Coinco Guardian. I mean, if you're a Coinco customer, whatever you're currently using as far as newer MDB coin mechs go. If you have a non-MDB machine and you don't want to pay for an upgrade, I mean, most machines out there can be upgraded. There are control board kits from N1 and Vendors Exchange and even SEM for single price machines. We can convert single price soda machines to MDB very easily. There's money involved with that, and that may be your only option sometimes. But if you don't want to do that, with single price, to get away from single price, you have to go to MDB. There's no other good single price option. Well, I take that back. You can, if you want to get away from single price, MDB is all you can go to, obviously. But the other option, single price period, is going to go away at some point in the future, and so it's not a bad idea if you have a dead coin mech to go to MDB. The other alternative that you could still do with single price, although again, single price period, no matter who made these coin mechs, is going away at some point. Coinco, okay, their coin mechs, their 9300, even their 3000 series coin mechs, are still supported by Coinco. I mean, way to go, Coinco. They're still making parts for their legacy coin mechs. Now, granted, they are still making the 9302GX, which uses essentially the same parts, and so they have to, but, you know, those parts are still available. In all the 9300 series, we can still get the payout parts. We can get the plates, and we can get the slides. We can get the housings. We can get electronics and components for the acceptors. And to one way or another, I mean, there's certain parts that are no longer available, but for the most part, the 9300 series Coincos are still serviceable and repairable, and they're going to be for a long time. So if you don't want to upgrade to MDB, and you could on a single price go to a Coinco single price coin mech. That's a much better option at this point, although be aware that single price at some point is going to be difficult to repair. So consider going to MDB with single price all the time. But worst case, for now, just if you have to buy a replacement coin mech, get a Coinco single price coin mech, like a 3000 series or a 9300 series. Models underneath those that would work in any single price machine are the 3340, the 3341. These are all -S for Coinco models. The 9340, the 9360, the 9370, there's the 9341. All those models are single price models and are going to be a much better alternative if you're not going to upgrade to MDB to replace the TRC 6800H, which is MEI's single price coin mech. If you have a 12-pin 110 volt micro mech that's a TRC coin mech, if you have a 12-pin 24 volt 110 volt or a 15-pin 24 volt, if those die, you need to either go to MDB or you need to go to Coinco's version of those coin mechs. So with the TRC 6000, which is the 12-pin 110 volt, the 9300L is what you want to go to. If you have a 6010, a TRC 6010, which is the 12-pin 24 volt, you want to go to a Coinco 9302L. If you have the 15-pin TRC, which is the TRC 6010XV, you're going to go to the Coinco 9302LF. And that covers most of the models out there. There's a couple others. But with those Coinco 9300 series coin mechs, those are still completely serviceable. I can sell those things all day long and I don't have a problem doing it because I can get parts. I can still service those completely to my satisfaction. And I have a pretty high standard when it comes to rebuilding this stuff. But the issue with these coin mechs, it's taken me a while to get to it, I know. I'll show you that in a minute. The part that is no longer available and is kind of just poorly designed, it's not a big deal really if you can get these things new, but over time they do start cracking. The part that is failing on most of these coin mechs is what's called your payout solenoid housing. So it's this piece right here, and I don't have an individual one because they're so scarce, but it's this piece here. Your solenoids are screwed to it. That's what your screws are here. 3 payout solenoids are screwed to this housing here. And this is your base plate, this bottom plate here, that's not part of the housing. This plate screws to the housing, and you've got a screw hole here, a screw hole here, and you've got a screw hole here and a screw hole here, where screws go into this payout solenoid housing. And the solenoid housing comes down and then comes this way and comes out here. And everything is in the payout area is built around it. Well, what's happening, I'm going to walk back behind the camera so that I make sure I get a good view of this. So this screw hole here, see that? That's totally broken. The plastic's even gone. It's cracked. Same on this side. The plastic is so thin here, and there's hardly anything there that the screw can go into, that when this plastic dries out, it's junk. And these, same thing back here. These holes start to crack. If I were to take this plate off here and were to show you these holes, they would just be cracked like crazy. And the plastic that forms the hole that the screw goes into oftentimes is just cracked beyond belief. And a lot of times those holes fall apart when we take these coin mechs apart. There's another one that's going to be toast when I go to take it apart. Doesn't look that bad right now. But this hole here, see this plastic? Get it in the right light. See that crack right there? Where my finger's covering it? When I go to take that screw out, I mean that whole piece of plastic is warped, cracked around that hole, and is not going to go back together. We have to put a, I'll show you on this one, a dime support bracket to fix dime payout problems, and it requires a slightly thicker screw. So it's this metal bracket here, and a screw that goes up through that, And when you have a screw that goes up through, you take out a screw and put it back through that same hole, especially if it's a little larger, it's just going to crack it, and the screw is not going to hold on to the plastic. It's going to be ruined. And so most of the housings are like those first two I just showed you, are totally ruined by the time they get here. This one is one that I just recently did today, and there were nice cracks in these two screw holes on this housing here. But this is a plastic epoxy, a special plastic epoxy I use it constantly in all kinds of other applications on these coin mechs, or not on any coin mech or bill acceptor. Use it all the time. It's a very high strength epoxy, and the cracks were insignificant enough, and I could get the screws back in still, and they were able to hold on to plastic, that I was comfortable using this epoxy to kind of hold these screw holes together. So this coin mech is going to go out, and testing on the bench here, it works great. How long that kind of a repair is going to last, I don't know. If this coin mech is handled gently and is not outside for 5 years, this is probably going to hold together for a very long time. When we package these, we're very careful. You got to have padding here and padding here, because these things are incredibly fragile. All coin mechs are incredibly fragile. You've got magnetic wire and ceramic coils, and that ceramic just likes to crack and break like crazy when people, slam the coin mech down on the table, or they move it around, inside your truck or your vehicle. I see guys all the time in service trucks where they've got a shelf, in the service truck with soda on it, and I'll just have all the coin mechs stacked up on the shelf like this, and they're driving down the road like that. That's not going to work. Those coin mechs are never going to work again. If they drive down the road, next time they need to pull one of those, they're never going to work. These have to be handled very carefully for reasons like this, for reasons like the ceramic issues I'm talking about with the coils in here that create the magnetic field for the coins. These are very, very fragile pieces of equipment, and the newer coin mechs are too. These have to be handled gently. If you're carrying them in your truck, they need to be on your seat with nothing else beneath them. They need to be, nothing else hard needs to be bouncing against them. It needs the full cushioning of a seat to travel safely without being wrapped in something else. If you're not going to use a seat, they need to be in a box with some kind of wrapping. If you're going to carry them in the back of your truck, in a box truck or something, they need to be in a box, padded well. If you buy one from us, any kind of coin mech, if you buy a single coin mech, leave it in the box it came in, because it's packaged to travel roughly for a long time. Leave it in the box. Don't take it out and leave a coin mech like this, because that's going to ruin them. But the TRC coin mechs, they're ruined or not, they're getting to the point where they're not going to be fixable anymore, and we're having to scrap so many of them. Our parts inventory is just going to be depleted very fast. So give us a call, 970-623-1272. I'll help you transition to something else. CoinCos, 9300 series are about the same price as these are rebuilt, so that's a fantastic alternative. Doesn't cost any extra. If you're buying anywhere else, be sure to ask for a CoinCo option instead of the TRCs from now on, and try and phase out your TRCs, because in the long run they're going to be working better, because the fact that we can actually put new parts on the CoinCos, whereas we can't on these anymore, and they're going to be lasting a lot longer. And again, as with everything else I try to share with you guys, it's going to save you money, and it's going to make you more profitable over the long run. So phase out the TRCs. They were a great coin mech while they lasted, a fantastic product, but once new parts aren't available anymore, all the flaws they had and all the weaknesses that any product any product has come to the forefront pretty quick when you can't fix them properly. So until next time.